quick show of hands before we get started. How many of you did a good proactive Giving Tuesday push this year? Feels good about what you did. Anyone want to share how much they were able to raise on that day alone? You know, what was it, 3.1 billion overall? What did we get in that? Feel free to drop it in the chat. Jake.
I could start off too. I for the charity that I work with as like my charity that I do for fun, we raised a little over 10,000, and we had a matching donor up to 10 as well. So it would be like 21,000. It's pretty good for a day. Not too bad for online giving.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else, feel free. You don't even have to drop it in the chat. You can unmute and tell us like that. We'd love to hear about it. Let's see. I see we have a in the chat. What does it say? No chat. Anybody? Come on, Donna Steins. I know y'all did it. Not to put you on the spot. You told me a number yesterday. Come on.
Oh, I think it was like we were close to 24,000. And we probably didn't do as big a push this year as we did last year because of Gala, but it was still a success.
Awesome.
We showed videos and did videos on Facebook and stuff. We didn't do pies in the face this year. I do think doing some challenges like that does help. So for the future.
Yes. Yeah. They did a pie in the face thing last year that was pretty interactive and fun. So yeah, for those of you what that meant. Anyone else? A couple of you raised your hands. Nobody knows their numbers. Just, looking for inspiration. No? Okay, we'll move on. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so 7 simple websites that increase giving. I don't know about y'all, but I think almost every single person I work with is constantly talking about, oh, we need to redo our website. And it feels like this daunting task, right? We just need to start over from scratch. It's just so awful. It's embarrassing. I don't even want to drive people there. Those types of things. I hear that all the time. Well, our hope is that you can walk away from today's session with some very tangible things that you can do to get your website working, even when you're not. A few simple updates without having to do a complete overhaul, right? Things that you can do probably even just by yourself without too much enlistment of, a marketing team or your web developer, right? Hopefully there are things that you can do that you might just need very minimal help to implement. And I'm excited. I see several of you actually are the marketing help support for your philanthropy efforts. And so we've got that inside track ready to roll. So thank you all for joining us. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our expert on the subject, Jake Lyons.
Okay. So as we're going through this, I want to kind of first just frame the goals of these updates. Like, these are all great things that we can all hopefully implement in like a week or so. They're not complicated. You don't need to be an HTML expert to do most of these. But Trish, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. We're just going to walk really briefly through the point of doing these updates. So, there's something in between doing the updates and now we have more revenue or now we have more traffic. So here are the actual things we're trying to accomplish by making these slight changes, or if we're building a website from scratch, just keeping these things in mind. So first and foremost is more traffic, just more total people day to day looking at your website, just clicking through, finding it either through your homepage, Google search, through social media, however they get there. But the idea first and foremost is to get more humans looking at your site. Once they are there, updating your site in ways and having it be navigated in ways that they end up staying longer. Most website tools, you can actually track the people's average time on your site overall, their average time per page, where they click. All these things are able to be captured. It's why when you go on most websites these days, that little thing pops up in the bottom that says accept cookies. And you're like, what does that mean? All that means is like, hey, we're trying to track our analytics. Are you okay with us knowing basically, are you looking at our website? How long are you staying? All of that. They don't keep your private information. It just kind of gives you full readout of total people to do that. So more people joining your site, looking on every different page that you have and staying on there for more total minutes is the second goal. The next thing is to understand your mission and vision really quickly, really easily. So if I see your site, I go, this charity does X, Y, or Z, and I can know that in just a few seconds. It doesn't take me a minute to say, okay, I know it's something with animals, but what do they do? Is it a horse rescue? Is it a horse therapy? I'm not really sure exactly what they're trying to do here. Or yeah, I see that it's in healthcare or it's senior services, but is it palliative care? Is it assisted living? Like in just a couple of seconds, really being able to understand mission and vision, A, helps people sort out if they're in the right place or not. And B, it helps them kind of align with, okay, here's the thing I'd be specifically helping. So really, really clear, actually doing less is more in this area. The next is the people that are looking and understand are shown where to go based on what they want. So they're going to want to navigate in a certain way that they're looking for something. It's our job as the UX or UI designer to kind of guide them where we want them to go. So kind of these CTA or call to action funnels eventually. So once they're on there, they understand what the site's about, they want to stay longer. We want to have them navigate in a flow that is advantageous to us as well. And we'll talk about some of the specifics to do that. But we want to kind of guide the user. It's not just, oh, we're going to put it up there and wherever they end up is good and whatever they're looking for is fine. Even if they have the information that they want, what do we want them to do next? What are the next steps? And there's some pretty easy things you can do to help kind of streamline that. And then the last thing, and maybe the most important, the people who are interested and you've kind of shown them the way through your site have clear calls to actions, or CTAs is what they're called in the digital marketing industry, to convert them to either donors or volunteers, or even something as simple as signing up for your newsletter so they get that continuous interaction, following you on the social networks, whatever those CTAs are for you, whatever you want those people to do once they get to your site, having plenty of opportunity and lots of places that no matter what they click on, what they read, what they decide that they want, they're being directed to those CTAs that you have come up with in advance and are guiding them towards. And you can update this continuously. It's one of those things that you set it up away and then you look at your analytics after 30 days or 60 days and go, man, we really were trying to get them to do this, but they're really doubling down on this over here. Can we change up what we're doing? Can we switch some of the buttons around? We literally do this with our site as well. I mean, we know what people are clicking on, we know what people are navigating towards. And if there's something that people are interested in, we're going to make that thing easier to find and that thing on more pages. So just kind of keeping those things in mind, that this is a guided experience for them. We're not just like throwing up paper on the wall and saying, hope you look at it. It's if they read that paper, where do we want them to go next and what do we want them to do? So that's what we're keeping in mind as we're going through all 7 of these updates. And hopefully these are things that are easy enough that you can do kind of right away as soon as we get off this call. So with that, next slide, let's get right into it. Okay, if you do nothing else and you're tired of me talking already, and there's one thing you take away from today, please state your mission of your charity right off the bat, front and center of your homepage. Now you can put this in all kinds of places, but if you can really boil it down to not what do you do, but what do you do does. That's kind of a hard thing to, what do you do does for people, for humanity, for your community, for animals, for whomever. State that mission so clearly right off the bat. And Trish, you can go to the next slide because I actually want to try something really here. Let's do a quick experiment. So in just a minute, we're going to advance to the next slide. And then one more click after that is going to flash a very well-known charity's homepage for on the screen. Trisha's going to leave that on the screen for about 2 seconds, like really fast. So I want you to really pay attention here, kind of keep your eye on the screen just for a second. She's going to flash it really quick and then take it down. And then if you can, in the chat, tell me what you think this charity's mission is. Can you decipher it in less than 2 seconds? Okay, here we go. Trish, next slide, please. Flash that on for 2 seconds and go. Okay, perfect. Now, if everyone can just take a minute and type in that chat box, what do you think that charity's mission was? That might not have been 2 seconds. That was super quick. Did anyone catch it? All right, we got a couple already. Bam. So right off the bat, we know finding cures, saving children. Pretty self-explanatory. Trish, you can actually hit backspace so we can look at it one more time. So this happens to be the website of St. Jude's Children's Hospital, you know, the mega charity. They raise hundreds and hundreds of millions. They're an absolute machine because how can they not be? They're famous. They do incredible work, research. Their services are all free, and they're probably one of the best known nonprofits in the country right now. They are not apologetic and they are super clear. They probably spent $10,000 figuring out what 4 words to put on here. But right off the bat, they have this child and this nurse, and no matter what else is on the page, it pops out so quickly. She flashed it up there for just a split second, and you're like, I already know what this is about. In the first 1.5 seconds of being on that page, you're like, I'm all in. I know exactly what this charity does. If you can try to go to your own site and see how you compare and say, If I were to flash my own webpage for 1.5 seconds, would you know what we did? And if the answer is no, then maybe you can change some of those words or make the text bigger, or take the information that's on the page, slide it down a little bit, and have the first thing that pops up be something that's a little closer to this. It's just a wonderful way to go, okay, I'm totally in, I'm in the right place. I know exactly what these people do. And now I can begin my process of navigation. But they do such a wonderful job of just putting that on screen right there. Super easy. You know what's going on. All right, next slide. The next thing, this is also one that might need a little bit of back-end stuff, but it's one that we know makes a huge difference in total number of conversions. There's a lot of great data on this. This is also one of the really simple ones you can do, is put that donate button in the top right or the top middle, make it a different color, make it super obvious, and try to put it, if you can, on every single page, so that at any point, if someone is excited or inspired, or they were thinking about donating, but they needed a little more information, they're not having to go back and look for that site. We want to take every small barrier that we possibly can away from the user, so that at any moment they're like, oh yeah, I think I might want to do this, or I'll see what their donate options are. They can click right on that donate button. This is the American Cancer Society. Obviously, I mean, I think actually a couple people here worked. Donna, you worked for the American Cancer Society for a little bit, a wonderful charity, do great research, great work. Their call to action is actually to get screened for COVID, for flu, for that kind of stuff. So that's kind of their mission right now, as opposed to, deciding what they are. People figure the American Cancer Society, they know generally what they're doing, but they got that donate button right there in the corner. They've got a massive marketing team that's figured out how to get their website funnel. And one of their best practices that we can take away is having that donate button just really easy to reach. And if you can, one click to the credit card screen. So you click the donate button, immediately you're into, here's the amount. Is it monthly? Is it not monthly? And then you go down the list. You can put in your credit card there natively. If you don't have a way to do that on your site, having the PayPal natively built in to your site, also a wonderful way to do it. But really should not have to be searching and looking hard for that donate button. Just makes it so much easier when it's front and center. And I love how they have it red with everything else on the page, either a more neutral white or a blue, so that it really pops out. Got the little heart on there. Just a really, really awesome best practice to take from them. Okay, next slide. From there, I will turn it over to Shauna.
Thank you so much, Jake. I love this, this graphic here, prominently share stories and data. So we talk a lot about at Pride Philanthropy about being really good at both pieces of those, right? Telling stories, but also being able to back it up with data. That is the arts and the sciences side of fundraising. So this is a really good excerpt of someone who has done this well. So we know facts sell, stories sell. Why not have them both? We need to have them both on there, right? So you want to connect with a multitude of audiences. Some people, they are going to look right at those numbers. Some people are going to look right at those stories, right? So we want to make sure that we are able to connect with people on all different levels. Our stories of impact, we want to show them something that we've done. We want to be able to describe it to them through people telling their stories, but we also want to have those numbers on there. We want for the numbers to be big. We want for them to be impactful. We want to be proud of them. We want for people to be able to engage with us through seeing how we have helped other people, right? So really good examples here, 1.5 million, 6.8 million, 45,000. Those are big numbers of impact that I'm interested in when I come to this slide. All right, next slide, please. This is, I think, common sense, but also something that we miss a lot, right? Calls to action at every turn and on every page. We absolutely need to have calls to action. So we need to have calls to action on every single page. Give today, give monthly, fundraise, volunteer. How can they get involved? Not just on one page, right? Not just where they have to dig for it, not just where they have to find something within our page. And this is the concept that we have something on every location that helps them to join our tribe, join us. Get updates, get involved, or put your email address in here and we will send you information nonstop, right? But we want for them to have multiple different options to be able to do that. Next slide, please. This is fantastic. And I've been in the seats of many of you where you are fighting the battle to be able to get an organization to do something like this. But this organization, they're in campaign mode. And when you go to their website, their organization's website, not their campaign website, not their foundation website, not their side website, when you go to their website, this prompts comes up immediately. This is what we're doing. This is why we need your help. How amazing is that? Fight for that. Have that available. If you're in campaign mode, let every single person that has been touched by your mission, let them know. And you've got to make it front and center. You've got to make it something that is powerful and is engaging for everyone. They need to know that you're raising money. You're not ashamed of that. They need to know that you're raising money and that you're raising it at every click. When Jake talked earlier about having that donate button on every single place, this backs it up too. You're in campaign mode, talk about it as if it's the only fundraising that matters. Marty?
Okay, sorry, could not get to my mute button. That was a little scary for a second. Thank you. And actually, before I go into this one, I just want to go back on what Shauna was saying. I think a lot of times I find myself, if I'm going to a site, getting confused because there are so many options. And sometimes people leave several different like previous campaigns or, oh, but we have all these little side things that we do too. And they leave them too prevalent. If you're too afraid to completely remove them, sort of burying them down further is a good option. Kind of just to piggyback off of that, because I think oftentimes I go and I'm like, I just can't even really find what it is that you're asking me to do. And so that's a very easy cleanup thing that you should be able to do, whether you completely remove it or sort of hide it in a different layer to bring your campaign to the center. So anyway, on to the next one. This kind of speaks to what Jake was talking about on, getting people to stay longer, right? How many of you get really excited when you see a bunch of words on the screen and you want to stay there and read all of them? Yeah, probably not unless you're my 10-year-old daughter reading her book on her Kindle. But on a website, you don't want to just have all words, right? If you're going to have words, there has to be something interesting there. So, video is greater than graphics is greater than text. We know we need a combination of everything, but we know that we're captured so much more. It goes to all the social media scrolling and you watch a video and all of a sudden it's an hour later because you've just been watching videos, right? You don't get caught up as much, most people, with text, right? And then having graphics and images and photographs are going to bring you in to some extent. But if you have compelling stories, and I would say they need to kind of be bite-sized. You don't want to have like a 10-minute video. Jake probably has some good numbers on the optimal time of videos. Do you, Jake? Not to put you on the spot.
Yeah. So if it's native in YouTube, it's that like 15 to 20 minute range is kind of your sweet spot generally for clickability and for I think it's called total time watched and user retention and all that tends to be in there. For your site, you want like a minute and a half to 5 minutes. The people that we have, our clients who do this really, really well, their campaign videos and their story videos are kind of right in that range, in that like less than 5, but more than a minute and a half range. So you get a little bit of time for that emotional appeal, that like kind of pathos connection. But you're not having to have someone click off the video. That's the worst thing. You want to end the video before the user does. If the user says, I'm done with this before the content is done, you have failed. If you leave the user wanting more, you have succeeded. You're kind of drawing them in. You're piquing curiosity and encouraging them to keep scrolling, keep clicking through, keep going to the next CTA that you have prepared for them.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, because I think that's important, is if I'm going to put a video there, how long does it need to be, right? But having videos telling the stories way better than just reading text on a screen and even the images, right? So having some combination of text, interesting graphics, having some statistics and infographics, something that tells me something at a quick glance, right? Just think about how you consume information. I can scan things, I can pick up on bullets and something interesting in the text, a picture, and then I see a video, I'm going to click on it and I'm going to watch it, and it's going to grab me and it's going to bring me in. So making sure that we have some combination of these is super important. And if you don't have any videos, I urge you to get at least a video or two on your site to get people to stay there a little bit longer. All right, on to number 7. List your donors natively, and all of them. So I'm a huge advocate for recognition lists. I love to have them on the website. I think that people inspire people. And I oftentimes, when I'm sitting down with a prospective donor, we'll have them printed out and say, hey, look who else is already a part of our tribe, basically, right? I think that that's super important information to share, all the things from the recognition perspective. But from the web traffic perspective, it takes it even a step further. And this is something that we probably don't just necessarily think of unless you're naturally wired to think about keeping people on your site and getting people to your site, and really looking at all of the tracking that you might be doing to increase people to your site. So by putting them natively on your site versus having a nice link to your annual report, let's say, right? You've got, but it's all packaged so pretty. I did this annual report. Let's just put a PDF on there. That does not index the names, meaning if someone does a Google search, let's say you have all the top people in your community natively listed, you've typed them into your webpage, the Google search is going to pull your organization up. It will not do that if you have a PDF. It does not recognize that. So if you've got all the people in your community and that are part of your constituency might be searching for, you definitely want to have their names drive people to your site, right? Again, people are influenced by influencers, right? So we want to have all these names on our site so that if someone does a Google search, you're going to pop up. It's going to increase your domain authority. It's going to increase that organic traffic, and it's going to give you better search engine results. So not only is it good for recognizing your donors, it is good for getting people to your site and having that connection of the influencers in your community. So, all right, on to our final slide. Just a recap, the summary of our takeaways, all 7 of them. Make sure we've got a clear mission, 3 seconds or less. I mean, how impactful was that exercise? That was like half a second, and we knew like that. Most sites that I go to, y'all, I have a hard time finding that mission. I have a really hard time. People have, spent hours developing texts and long things to explain who they are and what they do and what they want from you. And there's just way too much, right? So I think that was very telling. Let's keep it simple, clear mission in 3 seconds or less. That donate button, always easy to find. I have given up on making a gift to organizations numerous times because I could not find the donate button. And a step further, I've actually clicked on a donate button and then not even been able to get to the place, 3 or 4 clicks later for actually putting in my card information. I got distracted. I did something else and never went back. You're losing money if you do not have this on every single page. And something Shauna had said, again, many of you are a foundation or supporting to a parent organizations, and sometimes you have your own website. Clearly it's linking. I can think specifically of at least 3 organizations I've looked for recently that were a foundation of a big organization. And on the organization homepage, there was I still never found a way to click. I had to go to the Google search and search for that organization foundation to find their own page. So there was no connectivity back to the home parent organization that you are supporting. So you've got to have it not just on your page. If you have your own foundation philanthropy page, which you likely do, you've got to have it on the parent organization page. And if you don't have that, you have to go to battle for that because it is that important. You just lose people every single day if you don't. Share stories and data about who you help. Again, it's got to be easy to consume. You've got to have impactful numbers. You got to have stories that you can understand quickly and know what that's going to do, how that can correlate, how what I might choose to do is going to make a difference. Make sure that you have that. If you do not have that and think, but we talk about it all the time, or people know, if you don't have it on your website, you're going to lose people. Calls to action everywhere. You've got to guide the user. You know, I've actually been really nicely drawn into sites before. And then I've been like, I want more. I'm hungry. Like Jake said, they left me wanting more, right? And there was nothing. Like, there was no like call to action of any kind, no donate, no like sign up for a newsletter, no, you know, I was hungry for information. And had I been brought along further in that relationship with information, I would have likely been inspired to make a gift, but it didn't take me from that to the next step and then finally to make a gift. So there was lost opportunity everywhere. Got to have those calls to action. Every single place that someone might stumble on your site has got to be linked in that way. Campaign taking center stage. Everything that you do should be supporting your campaign. And if your marketing efforts are not utilizing that to connect the brand, to connect the cause, connect it all together, you are missing an opportunity. A confused prospect is not going to give. So you're never going to move the needle there. Media and graphics over plain text. Again, I think I hit that point home. No additional comments necessary on that. We all know that media and graphics are going to speak to us and engage us more quickly than just text. And then listing all of our donors natively, not only to thank and recognize them, to get exposure for our program, to inspire others, but also to make sure we're increasing that search engine ability when people Google those individual names who are on our lists. With that, I'll entertain any questions. Does anyone have any final questions for any of the team on this website improvement forum? We couldn't have possibly answered every single question y'all had. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. In closing, oh, did someone have a question? I see someone on Drew.
Maybe not for this forum, but I want to hear more about Donna's pies to the face sometime, because that sounds like a lot of fun and something that I would love to implement.
We do have a minute. Donna, tell them what you did. I think everyone would benefit from hearing about that.
So last year during Giving Tuesday, for every, I think it was $5,000 that we raised, we pied the staff here at the foundation in the face, and we videoed it and put it on Facebook. And so it was a lot of pies today. I think we raised like 30,000. So we got pied quite often that day. But it was good because it was encouraging people, and they were wanting to see us get pied in the face. We had intentions of doing it again this year. And I think it just we just had too much going on to make it happen this year. But it definitely is beneficial if you can do something like that and put it on Facebook where people can see it in social media and stuff. And people will get behind it and want to see you pie people in the face.
You did Facebook Live, right? I don't know that much about social media, but it was live, right?
I think so.
I think it was. Yeah, just so this is just a really great point. Yes, it is December 2nd. Yes, Giving Tuesday has passed, but guess what? You can create your own pie in the face day, Drew. I highly urge you to do so. I think you could absolutely do that any day in the month of December.
Yeah, a third of all giving happens in December. 11% of all giving happens in the last 3 days of the year. So maybe do like a December 29, 30, 31, something kind of thing. Like that's where you're going to get a lot of that kind of automatic, your middle class, basically donations is going to come in those days and in December. So great time to capitalize on your online stuff and then kind of hit the ground running in January with the rest.
I love it. Yeah, I was also the other day, I was encouraging people. I get it. It's people take time off over the holidays, right? And you may be like, gosh, but like to ramp up and do things in those last few days of the year, I was planning to take that time off. Schedule things that can happen when you're not there. That's the beauty of technology, right? Whether it's social media posts, whether you pre-record pie in the face things, you probably could even pull that off, Drew, if someone's just hitting a button once it hits the threshold. You have a thermometer or something. I don't know. Someone more technologically savvy than me can probably figure that out. But let technology work for you when you're not working. And those days are really critical, important days. So
I appreciate that. Thanks for entertaining me there.
thanks, Donna. Any other questions, comments for the good of the order?